Good evening to everybody. Today class we are learn about what are insulators, what are semiconductors, and what are superconductors. Insulators means substances or materials which do not allow the electricity to pass through them, that are called insulators. That means insulators means the materials which does not allow the electric current to flow through them. That substance is called insulators. These also exhibit very low conductivity. These conductivity ranging in between 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10 ohm inverse meter inverse. That's that's such type of materials, such type of substances are called insulators. Examples for insulators are glass, plastics, rubber, pure water, ceramics, Teflon, all sugar, glucose, urea, all are examples for insulators. That means insulators sometimes does not allow the electric current to flow through them, or sometimes exhibit very pure, very poor low electrical conductivity. Such substances are known as insulators. Semiconductors means substances which allow small quantity of electricity to flow through them. The substances are called semiconductors. These conductivity ranging in between conductors and insulators. These exhibit conductivity ranging in between 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power 4 ohm inverse meter inverse, that are called semiconductors. Best examples for semiconductors are silicon, germanium, and gallium. All these are examples for semiconductors. Semiconductors very play important role in electrochemistry. That means semiconductors used in PN junction diodes and Zener diodes and transistors. Very large applications in electricity. Now let us discuss about superconductors. Superconductor means superconductors have zero resistivity or infinite conductivity. That means substances exhibit infinite conductivity or zero resistivity. That means there is no resistance when electric current to flow through the substance. That substance is called superconductors. That means superconductivity very important in everyday life. These are superconductors used in MRI scanning and satellite applications and maximum generation of maximum electricity. Superconductors play very important role. Best examples for aluminum, mercury exhibit superconductivity at low temperatures, and some metals and alloys exhibit superconductivity power. Niobium, titanium, niobium, zirconium, and some mixed oxides, yttrium, Ba2, Cu3, O7, yttrium, barium, copper, and oxygen. Mixed metal oxides exhibit superconductivity property. Depending upon dissociation power. That means electrolytes are classified into two types. First one is strong electrolytes. Second one is weak electrolytes. Strong electrolytes means strong electrolytes. That means electrolytes which completely dissociated into ions. Strong electrolytes means are highly ionized in the solution at all concentration. That means 100% dissociation into ions. Such electrolytes are called strong electrolytes. Examples for strong electrolytes are hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. That means electrolytes completely 100% completely dissociated into ions. Such substances are called strong electrolytes. When for example hydrochloric acid, when dissociation it gives H plus ions and Cl minus. When strong electrolytes dissolved in water, it completely dissociated into ions. Such electrolytes are called strong electrolytes. Examples are hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, sodium hydroxide. When sodium hydroxide dissolved in water, it completely gives Na plus ions and OH minus ions. Weak electrolytes means substances, electrolytes which cannot completely ionized into ions, that is called weak electrolytes. That means an equilibrium established between unionized molecules and ionized ions. Such electrolytes are called weak electrolytes. Weak electrolytes are only feebly ionized in the solution. That means partially ionized in the solution. Such electrolytes are called weak electrolytes. Examples are acetic acid and ammonium hydroxide. Acetic acid, ammonium hydroxide, and carbonic acid H2CO3 are examples for weak electrolytes. Now let us discuss about the factors affecting the electrolytic conductivity. Electrolytic conduction. That means strong electrolytes, nature of electrolytes. Nature of first one is nature of electrolytes. That means strong electrolytes ionized completely in the solution, whereas weak electrolytes ionize to a small extent. That means strong electrolytes are completely ionized, but weak electrolytes are does not ionize completely. Second one is size of ions. Larger the ion, smaller will be the conductance. That means larger ions carry less current to flow through it, but smaller ions will be exhibit maximum conductivity. That means smaller ions transport more current compared to larger ions. Third one, nature of the solvent. Greater the polarity of the solvent, greater is the conductance. That means polar solvents exhibit maximum conductance. Greater the viscosity, lesser will be the conductance. Viscosity increases, conductance decreases. Concentration of the fourth factor is concentration of the solution. Higher the concentration of the solution, lesser is the conductance, lesser is the conduction. That means dilution increases, conductance of the electrolyte increases. Concentration increases, conductance decreases. Fifth factor is temperature. That means on increasing the temperature, the dissociation of the electrolytes increases. Therefore, conduction increases. That means temperature increases, conduction also increases. Now let us discuss about Calder's law. Calder's law. That means Calder's law is used for calculating the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes. That means in the case of strong electrolytes, limiting molar conductivity are drawn by graph. That means we draw a graph when concentration of the electrolyte solution is taken on x coordinate and conductivity, that means molar conductivity taken on y coordinate. That means for example potassium chloride, it is a strong electrolyte. It gives a straight line. It cut the y coordinate at some place that indicates the limiting molar conductivity of potassium chloride. That means molar limiting molar conductivity of strong electrolytes are derived from Debye-Uckel-Ansager equation. But in the case of weak electrolytes, it cannot ionize it completely into ions. Therefore, weak electrolytes limiting molar conductivity does not determined by graphical method. These limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes are determined by using the Calder's law. That means Calder's law states that the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte can be represented as the sum of the individual contribution of the cation and anion of the electrolyte. That means limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte can be represented as the, that means it is the algebraic sum of the limiting molar conductivity of cations and limiting molar conductivity of anions present in the electrolyte solution. That is called Calder's law. That is represented by limiting cap 0 m, that is equal to lambda naught m plus lambda naught minus, where cap power 0 m represents the limiting molar conductivity and lambda power 0 suffix plus represents the limiting molar conductivity of cations present in the electrolyte, and lambda power 0 suffix minus represents the limiting molar conductivity of anions present in the electrolytic solution. For example, we take electrolyte sodium chloride, cap naught m is equal NaCl is equal to lambda naught Na plus lambda naught Cl minus. Suppose if an electrolyte on dissociation, when dissolved in water, it gives V plus cations and V minus anions. Therefore, limiting molar conductivity, that is cap power m is equal to V plus into lambda power 0 plus V minus into lambda power 0 suffix minus. Calder's law is used in the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes at infinite dilution. For taking example, acetic acid, that means cap power infinite to suffix m acetic acid. Acetic acid means it is a weak electrolyte. These limiting molar conductivity is derived from we take three strong electrolytes. First electrolyte is sodium acetate, second electrolyte is hydrochloric acid, third electrolyte is sodium chloride. That means cap power 0 sodium acetate CH3COO Na, according to Calder's law, lambda power 0 CH3COO minus plus lambda power 0 Na plus. That is equation 1. Second electrolyte is hydrochloric acid, cap power 0 SL is equal to lambda power 0 H plus lambda power 0 Cl minus. Third electrolyte is sodium chloride, cap power 0 NaCl is equal to lambda power 0 Na plus lambda power 0 Cl minus. That is equation number 3. Adding first equation and second equation, 1 plus 2 minus 3. That means first equation, second equation are adding on both sides. These value subtracted from equation number 3. Therefore, that is equation lambda power 0 sodium acetate plus lambda power 0 HCl minus lambda power 0 NaCl. It is the left hand side. Right hand side, lambda power 0 CH3CO minus plus lambda power 0 Na plus lambda power 0 H plus lambda power 0 Cl minus lambda power 0 Na plus minus lambda power 0 Cl minus. Plus values minus values cancelled, that is equal to lambda power 0 CH3CO minus plus lambda power 0 H plus, that is equal to limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid, that means cap power 0 acetic acid. Therefore, by using the Calder's law, we can calculate the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte, that is acetic acid. By using the Calder's law, we also calculate the degree of dissociation of weak electrolyte. Degree of dissociation of weak electrolyte, that is represented by alpha, where alpha is equal to lambda power C suffix m divided by cap power infinite at m suffix m, where cap power C suffix m represents the molar conductivity at concentration C, and cap power infinite suffix m represents the limiting molar conductivity of electrolyte. Okay, thank you.